Okay, this video obviously is going to cover the best LLC structure for real estate agents. So I know everyone throws around the term LLC now. What that exactly stands for is Limited Liability Company. And so everyone's talking about LLCs, the benefits they provide, but I think it's kind of losing its meaning, and because everyone's using an LLC now, or everyone says, oh, just get an LLC for that. Well, as I mentioned, this video is going to cover, what it is, how it operates, and how it can benefit real estate agents when they're operating their businesses under a broker. So, as I mentioned, LLC stands for Limited Liability Company, and it acts as the gatekeeper kind of between you and anything that were to come into the business or potentially come after the business if an issue arises. So think of an LLC essentially as a duplicate of you. It's a duplicate of you that you have more control over what gets exposed to the outside world. So this line that I have here, this represents kind of like a shield and a protective barrier between you and the outside world. And so this allows you to kind of look into the unknown, look to the outside, and determine what you want to let in and what you don't want to let in. So that's kind of what I mean here by gatekeeper. So when you set up an LLC as a real estate agent, you are using that as your barrier. And so what you can do, or what you will be doing, is you'll be setting up a domain, hopefully, that will be, obviously sending emails on your behalf. You'll be able to hire accountants, vendors, contractors, conduct business under the name of that LLC. Now, if you're in Florida, the Florida Real Estate Commission has certain regulations regarding how you can name that LLC. I won't cover those in specifically this video, as I'm sure your broker has probably mentioned that, but this video should be limited to the benefits. So when you're out and about earning income, conducting business, obviously that money, that cash flow will be coming into the LLC. So you'll be setting up a separate bank account once you get an EIN, which stands for an employer identification number. So think of the EIN as your social security number. So like your individual social security number, the EIN is that number for the LLC. So once you obtain that, you'll be able to set up a bank account. Any income that you earn will flow into that bank account. From there, you will be able to control whether or when you take a distribution from the bank account. So the limited liability aspect that acts as a benefit to the LLC structure itself is protection from potential creditors. So that could be anyone that would want to sue your company or sue you, sue your business if something goes wrong in one of your transactions, something gets overlooked. A lot of common issues that I have seen, and I've actually gone through several mediations over, is disclosure or seller's disclosures, and whether or not certain things were disclosed in accordance with their requirements, or whether or not they were disclosed in full to put that buyer on notice of potential issues. And so if you ever find yourself in situations where you're not quite sure, and you're just kind of taking your client's word for it, this would be an instance where something completely out of your control that's not really your responsibility as an agent, because in addition, it's kind of not really your expertise either. But there's numerous instances where that can come up and cause a lot of issues for you. And so what you want to do, and what the net effect of the LLC, if something like that were to happen, is it separates you from the business. So if you own homes, you own real estate investment properties, you own a personal residence, cars, brokerage accounts, so on and so forth, this LLC acting as a barrier prevents these potential creditors or judgment holders from reaching you and any of those brokerage accounts, real estate holdings, your personal residence. So if you have equity in any of those items, it would likely prevent a creditor from reaching those assets. So any potential recovery, if there were any recovery made, they would be limited to the assets that held in the LLC from which you're operating. Again, that allows you to control what gets exposed here to any potential creditors. So I have 2 points over here to take into consideration as well, because I know that I have seen a lot of questions on Facebook, specifically related to, well, do I even really need an LLC, and what the heck is the difference between an LLC and an S corporation, and specifically related to taxes. So what the S corporation designation does and when it should be applied, obviously, as you can see here, is if you're making at least $50,000 a year in earned income under your using your LLC as a real estate agent, if you're in that range, that would be the time when you would want to use the S corporation designation. So what that does is that allows you, as a 1099 realtor, real estate agent, it allows you to avoid the 7 to 8% self-employment tax. So because you're operating under the umbrella of a broker, you would be able to avoid that 7 to 8% and keep that in your pocket just by taking the S corporation designation. And now if you're a broker or standalone, you would not be able to do that. Now, one of the other cool benefits that's offered by using an LLC or using a business to operate as an agent is you'll be able to set up a solo investment account, such as a 401k, a self-directed IRA, or something similar to that. And in my opinion, that really increases your marketability as a real estate professional. Now, how would you do that? That allows you to essentially, set up and make tax-free investments on your behalf. If there's a property out that you see and you want to go into a partnership and acquire that personal residence or that property to then rent out as an Airbnb or do a flip, whatever it is, you can obviously increase your credibility, make a tax-free investment. That obviously sets yourself apart from the competition and shows other potential investors that you know what you're doing because you do it yourself, and that they can then trust you to make a logical, rational decision based on numbers because you are an investor yourself. The other thing that I think is a benefit here is if you are dealing with investors that are constantly doing high volume transactions, buying and selling, flipping, wholesaling, whatever, a lot of those types of investors are not using their own money. And so if you are doing high volume transactions, earning substantial income, you can start putting away money into that investment account, and then anytime a client comes to you looking to make a purchase on a potential flip, you can act as that hard money lender, put up the money for them at 10 to 15% interest on a short-term basis, and start to build that investment account as a hard money lender. So those are just some of the items or benefits that I could see from using an LLC. Number one, for the protection, tax benefits, but also from establishing credibility yourself and increasing your marketability to more and more people, whether it be homeowners, home buyers, purchasing for personal residence, or investors that might be doing a buy and hold or an Airbnb, so on and so forth. So I hope this diagram is useful and beneficial to you to see, kind of an illustration of the benefits rather than just words on a page. So if you have any feedback, any thoughts, any questions, by all means, please reach out to me. I'll be happy to answer those questions.